was designed for this strong vertigo, feeling of vertigo with landscapes, but then an insane intimacy with character. The way we shot the movie, the way I approached depth of field, the way I approached rhythm in the editing, the way we designed the sound and the music. I was a teenager that deeply loved reading books. I was reading a lot, and I was always looking for new material. I saw that very beautiful book cover about a man with blue eyes, and I dive into the book and I devoured it. I was saying to myself, one day, I would love to bring this to the screen. I think that when you adapt, you need total freedom, and definitely the movie is my take on the book. I really focus on the main character, which is Paul Atreides, of course, but still I had to make precise choices in order to bring the story to the screen, and one of them was to focus on the female characters. And for the people who don't know the story, there's like a female congregation of sisterhood, a sisterhood of the Bene Gesserit, who are controlling all the politics from the shadows, you know, and they are like masters that have full control over their bodies and that can control the minds of other people with their voice.
Stop! Cut the rope!
I try to put that up front in this adaptation.
Leave us! You must do everything the Reverend Mother tells you.
You dismissed my mother in her own house.
Come here. Kneel.
Here, several things are happening. The Bene Gesserit can use something called the voice in order to control the other human's will and go into the subconscious and ask him to cross the room and kneel in front of her.
How dare you use the voice on me?
I thought at the beginning that it could look silly if Timothée had to cross the room like a zombie. And it came into my mind to embrace right away from the beginning the point of view of the character and to fall into a very short period of time in some kind of micro coma. To create that feeling, we thought to make very strong dollies, camera movement, and at the same time switching off the lights of the room.
Come here. Kneel.
And also, as we are moving the camera, we are not touching the focus. So it means that the characters are diving into the out of focus zone in order to create that feeling of disorientation and vertigo.
You dismissed my mother in her own house.
Come here. Kneel.
When we, the cinematographer of Dune cinematographer, Greg Fraser, and I started to brainstorm about the movie, we knew that at the end of the day, it's a character that will be in contact with a new planet, a new landscape, and the more he will travel into this landscape, the more the journey will become introspective. The idea of massive wide shots that will put back humanity into their place into the ecosystem, meaning that they are ants on the surface of a planet, and I wanted to be very close to Paul, so we are always in the extreme, close-ups and wide shots. There's not a lot of medium shots in the movie.
It was a combination of trying to just ride the edge of creating small figures in big environments and intimacy. The large sensor on the LF allows you to use a mid-lens, yet be reasonably close to your actors. To me, the proximity of the camera is integral. So there are times with Timothée where he's experiencing spice episodes that we're able to get nice and close to him to be that intimate.
Spice in the tent.
That's the future of the sky.
Somebody help me. Please.
With Denny's films, it gives me a chance to play with something, and it's very hard to find the word for this, but I would call it brain-stemmy images. And they're all very sensory, incredibly sensory. Whether it's a foot on the sand for the first time, or whether it's a hand in water. Film is rich in these sensory moments.
One of the best movies that I've seen cinematographically is Dune. I remember watching it this past year. I hadn't watched it when it came out for some reason. I don't know. But I finally watched it and I didn't like the pacing of it. I think I've made a reaction to it. I don't know. But like, I felt it was so slow. But the one thing that I got out of that slowness of how it was edited was how beautiful of a picture it is. You know, the way that they lit the scenes, the way that the quality of just the video that you're seeing is just beautiful. It's something that for me, I feel, you know, I'm someone who came up on Christopher Nolan and Hoyt, and I love their functionality and I love how they shoot their films. But when I was watching Dune, I was like, when I become a DOP, this is what I want to capture. This is what I want to do. I want to paint with lights the way that Greg Fraser did in this movie. And I'm making this video as a way of us talking about what makes this beautiful. The short choices, you know, him saying that they mainly just use extreme close-ups and wide shots, which is a Villeneuve style. You know, as a director, you have your style. As a DOP, you have your style. And it's quite something that's it's impressive when two people can come together and create such a powerful picture. You know, at the end of the day, when you look at film, when you look at photography, the whole thing is all about how does light showcase what we are showing, right? How does that translate to emotion? When you look at the dream sequences in Dune, you know, they still follow the same principles of dream sequences in most films, whereby it's a different sort of color where it's yellowish and then it pops back up to reality. But the way that they did it, it felt as if you were going into a different time space, into a different world. When Zendaya and Timothée Chalamet's eyes were blue and stuff like that, and then you come back to reality, it's the way that they lit it, like the way they used the chiaroscuro, like for the scene whereby he puts his hand in the box of pain when the mother pulls him in. I think to see the breakdown of how they did that scene, dolling, pushing back, and then turning off the lights, like those are techniques that you don't really get to learn in film school. Those are techniques that only come from experience and knowledge and trust within your team to be able to come up with that. And I think as DOPs, as people, as filmmakers, Dune, I feel like most of Villeneuve's movies are just something that you have to study, like the way they did Sicario, the way they did Blade Runner. And this one, I feel like for me to date is one of the best ever. In terms of just how the movie looks, the movie and feel looks, you know. They have a dusk that doesn't end. It's like, how do you light that? These people are in a desert. How do you light that? Like how the editor says each shot is just a beautiful cinematic masterpiece. Like the way the hand goes into the water and comes out. I think for me, quote unquote, I believe I may come up, you know, it's always difficult to say, oh, this is the best looking movie ever. This, for me, another movie that left a good impression on me was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Craziness. Like the way the movie just looks speaks to you, and I feel like cinematography plays a big role into making this movie a great movie. Let me know in the comment section what you think of Greg Fraser's work as a DOP in this, and even Villeneuve. You know, a lot of times like we give praise to the director and we forget the DOP, or when we give praise to the DOP, we forget to give praise to the director who approved of all these choices. I think the way they did Dune is marvelous, and I can't wait to see what they do in the next one.